It must be said that, like a lot of international organisations and meetings just now, this session was opened and dominated by the topic of the conflict in Ukraine. The UN Human Rights Commissioner Michelle Bachelet opened the session making reference to that. She says this is a tipping point, and she mentioned that this was a really critical moment for humanity. Now, this human rights body is made up of 47 members, including, for example, China and the United States, and there are around 40 speakers there today, each of them talking about human rights issues that are important to their own national context. And one of the speakers, as you mentioned, was the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. He spoke about China's commitment to promoting and protecting human rights, but he also didn't shy away from some of those more controversial topics. He mentioned the situation in Xinjiang, and he also mentioned the Hong Kong security law. He was quite clear. He said that China would not be taking lectures on human rights, but it must be said that here in Brussels, for example, the EU and China have been at odds over these issues. We know the European Union last year imposed sanctions on China and relates to its allegations of the EU's allegations, of human rights abuses in Xinjiang, and China has slapped counter sanctions on several EU bodies and members of parliament. So there were some thorny issues discussed here at this session, which is of a high-level segment, and which Michelle Bachelet says, that's the UN Human Rights Commissioner, that this was unprecedented in the level of the speakers and the number of speakers. She said this was an incredibly important moment for the world at this time of great uncertainty.
Yeah, now as the conflict escalates in Ukraine, did delegates there discuss the refugee situation, both in terms of, improving the humanitarian situation of these refugees, but also in terms of accommodating this huge exodus of refugees to other countries?
Well, Michelle Bachelet, the UN Human Rights Commissioner who opened this session, did certainly make reference to that. She said human rights are at risk, and she mentioned 406 casualties, and she said the UN Refugee Agency had recorded more than 400,000 cases of people being displaced within and beyond Ukraine. So this is certainly high on the agenda there of those at this Human Rights Council. Now, she said what was important at this particular meeting was to overcome polarization and to find a common way forward at this most uncertain and difficult of times. So that was really her message there, is to for countries to come together and try to step up in this most difficult period of conflict on European soil.